A printed Bible is a formidable book. It might have more than 1,200 pages of small print and might not have a single picture or cartoon. It can be pretty intimidating to start reading unless you know a little bit about it first. Billions of people have found it worth reading and understanding, so you can expect to find it worth your time and effort. The Bible is split into two sections, the Old Testament and the New Testament. I want to tell you about the second section, the New Testament. It comprises a little less than a quarter of the pages of the Bible. You'll find I'm pretty familiar with the New Testament. In fact, I'm the author of much of it.
The New Testament tells of the life and teachings of the most extraordinary person to have ever walked the face of the earth, Jesus Christ. He left an indelible mark on history and offers an invitation to encounter his life-changing presence.
My name's Paul. Yes, the Paul who saw the light on the way to Damascus. If you ever get blinded by a light while you're on your way somewhere you shouldn't go, and a voice, whom you are keenly aware is Jesus, tells you to reconsider your actions, do it. I'm the author of much of the New Testament, but make no mistake, God told me exactly what to write down, so the true author, God. The New Testament's written in the Greek language over about 40 years in the first century AD, from about the mid-40s to the mid-80s, by 8 or 9 writers living in the Middle East, Greece, Italy, and Turkey. The New Testament consists of 27 writings known as books, and for convenience sake, modern Bibles segment the books into chapters and verses. For instance, the New Testament begins with the book of Matthew, chapter 1, verse 1. Some people wonder how these 27 writings were chosen out of all the writings existing at the time. These were chosen by consensus of the early churches and church leaders because they were considered to be sacred and legitimately from God. And the list was finalized in the late 300s AD, but had been in general use long before. The New Testament is about Jesus and his people. His people are the ones who believe in him and follow his teaching, known today as Christians. It was written primarily about the period between 5 BC until the mid-80s AD. The New Testament begins with, wait for it, genealogy. But what a line of genealogy it is. It's a walk through the greatest love story ever told about God's love for his people. And then it leaps into the action with the miraculous births of John the Baptist and Jesus, and the story jumps to the beginning of the ministries of John the Baptist and Jesus when they're in about their 30s. The story of Jesus is told in the first 4 books of the New Testament. These are known as Gospels. Jesus' main followers are called apostles. The New Testament moves forward into the book called the Acts of the Apostles. They begin to introduce Jesus to people, make more followers. The followers of Jesus become known as the church. And leaders, such as James, Peter, and myself, write letters and teachings. These letters and teachings go on to make up most of the New Testament. And then the end. And what an ending at that. The New Testament ends with the book of Revelation, written by the Apostle John. It's an apocalyptic masterpiece. Apocalypse means the revealing of divine mysteries. John has a vision, and he writes it all down. Lots of symbolism, intriguing imagery, end of days. It's a climactic ending of endings. Unlike many modern books, the New Testament isn't arranged in chronological order. Instead, the books are arranged in groups. The first 4 books, the Gospels, or the good news, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And these primarily cover the birth of Jesus, his life and teachings, his death, and his resurrection. Then the book of Acts, it's attributed to Luke, the writer of the Gospel of Luke. It tells of the ascension of Jesus, the beginning of the church on the day of Pentecost with the coming of the Holy Spirit, and the growth of the church under the power of the Holy Spirit. I make an appearance as well, and it ends with me in prison in Rome. It's a great story. You got to read it. The next 13 books are teachings and letters from me, Paul, mostly ordered by length of writing. Book of Hebrews follows, author unknown. Following that is one book by James, 2 by Peter, and 3 more by John, and 1 by Jude. And all of these letters are instructions to the early Christians about what to believe and how to live our lives, our actions, our motives. Then the final book, Revelation, closes it all out with the vision John had while he lived on the island of Patmos. These writings, along with the Holy Spirit's power, can transform your mind, your life, your world. I know firsthand. The language, the concepts, the stories, inspired by God himself. The New Testament gives everyone an invitation to believe in Jesus and become his follower, or not believe in him and don't become his follower. I started out as the latter and then believed, dedicated my life to being his follower and teaching thousands of others to be his followers. If you will take the time to read and learn the New Testament, you'll see why I made the choice I did. And just maybe be inspired to do the same.